Hello and welcome to Bored and Confused, where I review shows based on two criteria. One, was I bored? Two, was I confused? Today's show is Animal Wisdom, written and composed by Heather Christian, playing at Signature Theatre in New York City. But before I jump into this very unusual piece of theater, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me grow this channel. And growing this channel is what helps me get press tickets to see unusual theater like Animal Wisdom. So let's get into it. What did I know about this going in? I actually knew quite a lot about this show because I had the fortune of working with Heather Christian, the author, composer, lyricist, and original performer of this piece, about 20 years ago. I did two shows with her back to back, and even then I was struck by her extraordinary musicality, her songwriting, and that one-of-a-kind voice of hers. Now, Heather is not performing in this production. She originated the role when the show premiered. But in this new staging at Signature, the role of H, as in H for Heather, is played by Tony Award nominee Kenita R. Miller. And I had watched clips of the show online and even considered watching the recorded film version that was made during the pandemic. But ultimately, I decided, let me just go experience it in the way it's meant to be experienced, live. And I'm glad I did. Let's talk a little bit about the history of the show's development. Now, Animal Wisdom has had quite a journey to get to Signature Theatre. It was first developed during a residency at the Transform Festival at West Yorkshire Playhouse in the United Kingdom back in 2015, and then further developed through a residency at the Bushwick Star in Brooklyn in 2017. It had its world premiere at the Bushwick Star in the fall of 2017, where it was so well received it extended multiple times. The New York Times called it a truly one-of-a-kind opus and gave it a Critics' Pick designation. Vogue called Heather Christian dazzlingly original. After the Brooklyn run, a live recording was made at Town Stages in 2018. Then, when the pandemic shut everything down and a planned national tour had to be scrapped, it was reimagined as a film, a collaboration between the Bushwick Star, Woolly Mammoth Theater in DC, and ACT in San Francisco, essentially capturing what live theater looked like during that strange, isolated time. Now, in 2026, Animal Wisdom is getting its proper off-Broadway premiere at Signature Theatre, directed by Keenan Tyler Oliphant, who has collaborated with Heather on multiple projects. And if you want to understand just how significant a voice Heather Christian is in the American theater landscape, consider this. In 2025, she was named a MacArthur Fellow. That's the so-called Genius Grant, an unrestricted $800,000 award recognizing her as one of the most creative and important artists working in the country today. She's also a two-time Obie Award winner and a Drama Desk Award winner. This signature run is, in many ways, the show finally getting the stage it deserves. So, what is the show about? Here's where things get a little bit complicated to explain, and in fact, Heather herself seems to know this because there is a fairly lengthy author's note that is handed to you right when you walk in which she makes it clear that this is not a musical. There is no traditional narrative. What Animal Wisdom is a requiem within a requiem. It is at its heart a piece about Heather coming to terms with the death of her grandparents. It's also about her lifelong ability to see and communicate with ghosts, spirits that have followed her since childhood. She grew up in Mississippi, and the show draws deeply from that world. The decaying bluffs, the folklore, the music, the faith. There are Methodist hymns from the 1800s that are half remembered and half reinvented. There are hyperbolized family mythologies. There are spirits and rituals and a kind of Gothic Catholic mass energy running throughout the whole thing. Now, the character of H, that's Heather's surrogate, moves through all of this accompanied by a six-piece band that also functions as additional characters and voices. So while Kenita R. Miller is the central figure, this is not strictly a one-woman show. The band is woven into the fabric of the storytelling. Think of it less as a play with songs and more as a spiritual ritual you are invited to witness, one that blends blues, gospel, and folk into something that feels ancient and deeply personal at the same time. Let's talk about some positives and some negatives. The music is, as always with Heather Christian, genuinely extraordinary. She has a very distinctive style. It's a fusion of gospel, folk, and blues, and this show showcases it beautifully. If you know her work, you'll recognize the fingerprints immediately. If you're new to it, Prepare to be surprised. The set design is evocative in a way that feels entirely handcrafted. It's filled with little knickknacks and curiosities like a living curio cabinet, and director Keenan Tyler Oliphant makes wonderful use of it. Sheets descend from the ceiling with projections on them. Things light up, lights go off. Small hidden compartments reveal surprises. There's a sense of discovery throughout the staging that keeps your eye engaged, even when the content becomes demanding. It is also worth noting that this production differs meaningfully from the original because Heather always played the piano herself. She was often anchored to the instrument and it was placed center stage. Here, there's a dedicated pianist in the band. Kenita R has much more freedom to move through the space, and she takes full advantage of it. And speaking of Kenita R, she is completely, utterly committed. Her voice is remarkable, a huge range with deep, resonant low notes that can leap to soaring heights. Her vibrato control in particular is something very special. She holds nothing back, and that kind of fearlessness in performance is exactly what a piece like this demands. So a few negatives. The main issue is the length. The show runs over 2 hours with no intermission, and given that it is intentionally non-narrative and ritualistic in form, that is a significant ask for any audience. The critics who reviewed the original production praised its ambition, but even the most admiring noted that it demands sustained, active engagement from its audience, and that is a lot to ask for 2+ hours, especially when you don't have your religious faith and fervor to keep you connected to it like in a Catholic Mass. This piece covers enormous ground: Heather's childhood, her grandparents, her spiritual experiences, the land, the music, the faith. And because it doesn't follow a conventional through line, it can feel like it's about everything and nothing simultaneously. I found that at a certain point, my cup was simply full. I could not hold any more space for any more ghosts, for any more information. And once I hit that wall, I mentally had to step back from the emotional journey and just start appreciating the music as music, which is gorgeous, but I had lost the thread of why we were here. The sound design was also an issue for me. The audience is configured on two sides of the stage, which means at any given moment, half the house is either looking at Kenita's profile or at her back. And when she wasn't facing our section, the lyrics became very difficult to parse. And Heather's lyric writing is dense, poetic, and layered, and it doesn't repeat as many times as you might like. You really need to hear these words clearly to stay connected, and you combine that with the impressionistic nature of the material and it becomes genuinely hard to hold on to. I do think this piece could benefit from some additional dramaturgical focus, zeroing in on the central through line of H's desire to release the spirits and make peace with her grandparents' death, and building that arc more explicitly so that the audience has a clear emotional journey to follow through all of the beautiful noise. I also felt musically that the show could really benefit for more repeating motifs that would anchor us a little bit more in the main themes of the show. So, was I bored? Yes, I was bored, but I want to be specific about what kind of bored. It wasn't the bored of like, this is a terrible show. It was the bored of a cup that has been filled past its capacity. There's so much crammed into these 2+ hours and so little traditional narrative scaffolding to help you organize it that at a certain point my brain simply couldn't absorb anymore. I checked out, not because nothing was happening, but because everything was happening all at once for too long. Was I confused? Yes, and honestly for the same reason that I was bored. The confusion and the boredom were really two sides of the same coin. I didn't lose the thread because the material was poorly made. Heather Christian is a genius, literally a certified MacArthur genius. I lost the thread because the piece gives you so many threads at once. The note in the program helps tell you not to expect a narrative, but knowing that in advance still, it doesn't necessarily make it any easier to sit with for 2 hours and 10 minutes. That said, I want to be fair. I was clearly not alone in my experience, but I also wasn't representative of everyone in the room. The man sitting to the right of me was weeping openly by the end of the show. He was genuinely moved, profoundly affected. So this piece absolutely has the power to reach people, to touch people. I just wasn't one of them on this particular night. So let's wrap this up. Animal Wisdom is a one-of-a-kind piece of theater, genre-defying, from one of the most singular artistic voices working in America today. It's ambitious, it's beautiful, it's musically rich, and it is unapologetically unconventional. For me personally, it asked more than I was able to give on the night I attended, and I left feeling exhausted rather than emotionally connected and moved. But I have no doubt that for the right audience at the right moment, this piece can be a genuinely transcendent experience. So why should you go see Animal Wisdom? Well, a few people come to mind. If you are currently processing grief, particularly the loss of a parent or grandparent, the ritual dimensions of this piece may genuinely speak to you in a way that more conventional theater cannot. If you're a fan of experimental, non-narrative theater and you love being challenged and surprised, this is absolutely your show. And if you've never encountered Heather Christian's work, this is a remarkable introduction to an artist who is shaping the future of American musical theater. A Drama Desk winner, a two-time Obie winner, and a 2025 MacArthur Genius Fellow. She's someone you're going to be hearing about for a long time, and this is a rare chance to experience what she does in person. So, how did I get tickets and where did I sit? Well, I was fortunate to receive a press ticket for this one, which I'm very grateful for. I sat in the middle of the house. The theater is configured with the audience on two sides of the stage, and honestly, all of the seats offer a good view. The intimacy of the Linney Courtyard Theatre at Signature means there's no bad seat in the house. That said, if I were going back, I might actually try the top row above the seating banks, because with a 2+ hour show that has no intermission, having just that little bit of extra space and sightline might allow for some subtle physical freedom that the middle of the house seating does not offer. If you have restless leg syndrome, you might want to sit up there. So how do you get your affordable tickets? Well, if you want to see Animal Wisdom for less, here are your best options. Signature Theater offers a student membership program that gets you tickets for just $20. That's an incredible deal for an off-Broadway show at this level. So find yourself a student and snag yourself a $20 ticket. And if you don't know a student, you can also get tickets on Today Tix. I know the cheapest ticket is $44 right now, but don't wait too long because this show only runs through June 14th. So thank you for watching this episode of Bored and Confused, and I hope you enjoyed learning about Animal Wisdom, and I will see you at the next one, which will be Thornton Wilder's classic, The Emporium, playing at Classic Stage Company. And maybe I will actually see a Thornton Wilder play that I really enjoy this time. Fingers crossed.
Don't bore me, don't confuse me. If you do, then you'll lose me. Don't wanna drift away, wanna stay inside the play. Keep me engaged, keep me amused with what's in front of me, 'cause I don't wanna be